Let's move straight to our next conversation. Now, despite several efforts and policies, the power supply situation in Nigeria remains precarious. But the federal government is taking decisive steps to address the over 3.3 trillion naira debt in the power sector, which is a significant factor contributing to the country's persistent electricity challenges. President Bola Tinubu has approved a comprehensive plan to settle the debts. The settlement will be executed through a combination of immediate cash payments and promissory notes. This move aims to alleviate the liquidity crisis in the power sector, which has been worsened by regular payments and rising debts, with hopes of stabilizing the power sector. Now, let's talk power. The presidency, has begun moves to address this legacy debt overhang, that has bedeviled the power sector for a long time. But talk to me, your thoughts on this. Are you excited?
Well, I'm not excited. The reason is that I'm amazed that even the presidency is owing 2 trillion. I mean, it is amazing that with all the budgets that we have been talking about, it is not the fault of this present government.
Exactly.
So let nobody think.
Exactly.
But what I'm saying in essence is that what has the government been doing since that you have to sit down to wait till you owe the power sector 2 trillion? Then why are we complaining? So why are the power companies running after lumping proletariat that they are owing them when the government can owe this much?
They said it's a general debt, not the presidency.
But it is owed by the federal government. Okay, maybe let's just say the
federal government, exactly.
Yes, we are saying the same thing. Because all these federal government agencies, they all have their budgets. Is power
all part of it?
Part of the budget they have every
That's
year.
One question we need to ask them.
We need to energize this sector. Why should government agency be owing the power sector? I mean, it is unheard of, because this is the reason why the sector is not working. So I now understand why, as the Yoruba would say, it is the one that you can overcome or overpower that you always go to. So the power sector or the power companies cannot hold the federal government responsible, or they can't hold the federal government, so they begin to hold
the consumers,
other consumers, and give them crazy bill and all that. The government, what the present government is doing, I think is good. At least agreeing that, okay, the government is owing you, we are going to pay a part of it cash and then promissory notes and all that. Then this will give the power companies a challenge. Because if I'm owing you, I have no moral right to complain when you do something wrong. But in a situation where the government is not owing them, the government is able to settle a part of the debt, then the government can hold them accountable that, look, we believe that part of the money we are owing you is the reason why the power sector is in.
But this money owed is not just to distribution companies, to Gencos.
Whatever,
Gencos,
whether they are distributors
the power generators.
Or whatever.
Exactly.
They need to settle these things and let us move on. Because power, industrialization, you are talking about, you want to change the economy, you want to move the country forward, you want to do this, you cannot do it without power. In fact, the world has become so advanced now that why do you see people opening shop to just charge phone? The world has become, everything now is power. So we need to make sure that the power sector is up and doing. And the government has a larger chunk of the duty to make this so, by paying their debt and also challenging the power companies that, look, you must do better. It is only here that you are not rendering good services and you are increasing your tariff every time. If your services are good, you see, power is something that everybody needs. So
Okay.
the law of, because everybody needs it, should even make it a bit cheap, and then because everybody will pay.
Okay. All right, Asuko, even though the government, the president did not give a timeline as to when this debt will be settled and all, but are you hopeful that if this matter is settled, there will be an improvement?
Well, I believe so. You know, because they're even talking, this debt is just for Gencos.
Yeah, exactly. Companies, generation companies.
And the generating companies so far, I'm not sure they are the major problem, you know, in terms of the value chain.
Yeah, some blame the transmission, the distribution.
So they can generate. Sometimes I hear that they generate close to 13,000 megawatts.
Yeah, exactly.
And so when they are wheeling out, the distribution company,
the transmission company cannot
tell you,
this is the amount we can take.
This is the amount we can take. And the distribution companies will also say, well, we don't have enough money to buy what you are also wheeling out. And so they will only take what they can afford. So the Gencos are, if they are owing, if the federal government is owing, they can pay. Thank God they said they will pay some in cash and some they will promise, maybe telling them maybe in the another quarter they will pay. This government have been able to, you know, pay their debts, at least substantially, to all the debts, legacy debts from you know, the past. You know. And so I want to believe they will do that in paying. And this can also help in boosting, you know, the power supply, particularly in generating. If they are doing 13,000 and they are paid them, we should be able to say that generating companies can generate 25,000 megawatts.
But now the problem is the transmission.
Now the problem will now fall back on the transmission. So will the transmission be able to carry that heavy load and not say that their
infrastructure is
national grid has collapsed? You understand?
I get you.
You know, so we need to get to that point. So when once we get, if they pay, in fact, I want the federal government to pay and tell us, well, we are paid, oh, this is the amount, and then in the next couple of months, you are going to pay the other one. And so we'll now, everybody will start looking at the transmission companies. Can you, you know, collect, can you take...
But we've always been looking at the transmission companies.
No, of course, because
we've always been looking at them. What is going on?
It's just one. Because, and from what I know, they've not been able to, you know, change the entire cables that they've been using since 1900.
That is because they have not made enough investment. They have not made enough, or they have not made any investment.
But you know, the transmission company is owned by the federal government.
Yes.
Yeah. So the investment now has to come from the federal government to see how the transmission company can, you know, accommodate what the generating companies
is actually bringing
out, to be willing out. If not, we'll still have the issue about blackouts.
We'll still have the same thing,
exactly.
So that we need to get that process right. So but first, the first thing, now that the federal government has said they are going to pay, generating companies are very sure they are willing to accept this payment.
As long as they are getting everything they need, gas and everything.
You know, I heard that it's going to be in the next quarter. So let's even see how it will go. And then the tariffs, every time they keep increasing tariffs. And it's also, you know, going back to them, because I heard with the so-called review of tariff, most companies, most distribution companies, and as well as the generating companies are making money. Because the liquidity is very vital when it comes to this,
All right,
business.
Our final conversation.